Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to the North Fair Oaks Community Council meeting for the month of January 2018. Happy New Year to everyone. And if we can get started, Victor, with roll call, I'll appreciate that.
Chair Everardo Rodriguez.
Here.
Vice Chair Beatriz Cerrillo.
Here.
Councilmember Rosario Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Linda Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Rosario Lopez. Councilmember Mary Martinez.
Present.
And Youth Member Yesenia Mendez.
Here.
Thank you, Victor. We'll proceed with public comment. Anyone may speak up to 2 minutes on any topic not on the agenda. And if you do so, please fill out a speaker slip, which might be given to you at the entrance. The council may not discuss any or take any action on items not on the agenda tonight. I see we have one comment from Derek Wolfgram. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Chair Rodriguez, members of the council, nice to see you again. I was here in November to give you an update on the Fair Oaks Library expansion and renovation project, just because I wasn't sure whether construction was going to start before tonight, and it turns out that that was pretty close. Construction is actually going to start 1 week from today on the new Fair Oaks Library space that we're creating. So there's a handout that I've passed around that's shares some of the details about what's going to be going on during the transition. We have those on the table back here in English and Spanish. If there's any more that you'd like to take to share with people in the community, or if anyone here is interested in learning more about that library expansion and a renovation project. So January 31st will be our last day in the space across the parking lot. Will be closed entirely from February 1st to 4th while we move over to a space just down the hall here in the Peninsula Family Service area of the community center. It's obviously much smaller than the space we're in now, but we'll be able to provide access to computers and Wi-Fi. We'll keep checking out our iPads and our Wi-Fi hotspots. We'll have a place that people can connect with library staff members, place holds for items to be picked up here. We won't have much of a collection in the space just because it's very small, but we will have those items coming that can be brought on hold from downtown. And we're really excited about what's going to be happening for the community. You can see on the back side of the handout, there's kind of the highlights of all of the new features that the library is going to have and the expanded spaces that I told you about in November. So I just wanted to give you that update that things are moving very quickly. We've tried to be super proactive in getting the word out in the community. We've had, in addition to press releases and things on the city and library's website and social media, we've also been in contact with nearby neighborhood associations, local churches and schools. I sent a direct message we had email addresses for about 1,500 Fair Oaks Library users, sent them a message individually to let them know what's going on. So we're really trying to make sure that come February 1st, no one's surprised when they come and the door's locked and they can't get in. But we'll have a sign on the door that will direct people over to the fact that we're just next door here, and we'll make sure that you get an invitation to our grand reopening, which will hopefully be in June. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much for the update. And we'll go to the next item on the agenda, the California Highway Patrol presentation by Captain Jim Allen and Officer Art Montiel.
Hi, good evening. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting us tonight. My name is Jim Allen. I'm the commander of our local highway patrol office here in Redwood City, and essentially we cover all of the unincorporated areas in pretty much all of San Mateo County. We actually handle the northern part of Santa Clara County from Moffett Field north all the way to Millbrae. So any of the unincorporated areas, including your community here, between those jurisdictions or between that area is pretty much our area of responsibility. So we have a pretty wide area of responsibility for majority of San Mateo County. So again, thank you to Victor and thank you to the council for hosting us tonight. We appreciate that. I don't really have a lot of statistics for you and things like that at the next meeting. I think we can get a better idea of what you're looking for, and we can bring some of that material with you as Art can. And Art, what I'm going to let Art speak to a little bit more in detail. Art is our public information officer. He's been doing it for a number of years, and I'm sure many of the people that I've already met here tonight and talked to Art, and you're very familiar with Art and all of his all the work that he's done here in your community with the Highway Patrol. So myself, just by way of introduction, I've been with the department for about 28 years. And I actually started my career with the Highway Patrol here. I grew up in San Mateo County over on the coast, and I did my first 5 or 6 years on the patrol, actually working primarily down here in your community in the unincorporated areas. So it's great to be back after a long time. Really enjoy working in San Mateo County. Tremendous partnerships with the allied agencies, with our EMS, fire, and law enforcement partners with the Sheriff's Office and the police departments here in our community. As with you, with the community groups. Art's told me, and I've been here probably about 9 months now, and the work that we've done, I know, in your community down here, we wish to continue that. If there's anything that we can do, please don't hesitate. We have a really robust traffic complaint system. For those of you not familiar with the kind of the roles and the responsibilities in general of the Highway Patrol, essentially, everybody looks to us and they say, we know we're up on the freeways and the state routes. But as far as any traffic-related issues, traffic enforcement, and handling traffic-related matters, collisions, and things of that nature, pretty much anywhere where you have an unincorporated section of the county, it's the responsibility of the California Highway Patrol to handle those collisions and things of that nature. But we have a lot of other programs and things that we do, and we obviously work with our partners in these communities with regards to enforcement and traffic complaints and things of that nature. So speaking of that specifically, if there's any issues that you have, particularly in your communities, speeding, whatever it may be. Please, we have a special enforcement unit that we direct just towards that, as well as to our units that go out on a daily basis that we can specifically target and address some of those concerns that you may have with regard to traffic problems. So thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I'll let Art talk now to a little bit about some of our community programs and our educational programs. Thanks.
Thank you, Captain Allen.
Good evening. My name is Art Montiel. I'm the Public Information Officer for the CHP here in Redwood City. Last time I came, you asked me to bring you some information about some of the programs that we have. So pretty much the CHP's role in the community is we have a lot of the community outreach programs. Some of those include the Star Smart classes that we hold once or twice a month. Car seat events that we do at Toys R Us or sometimes in this parking lot over here. We're planning another one for this year, sometime in March. That's that type of events. We normally check the community's car seats for free, and then we provide car seats that are donated. And in case somebody can't afford it, then or if it's expired, then we can replace one of their seats. They have to bring a seat in before we can give them another one, so that we can get the old seat out of the way. We have the Citizens Academy with the. I might maybe turn the other way. Citizens Academy with the San Mateo Sheriff's Office. So we do a lot of work with the sheriff. We have volunteers that assist at the. I should back up a little bit. Is that better? We have volunteers that assist at Garfield School with pedestrian crossing for the kids. Our school bus coordinator test drives drivers and does random document inspections for the local bus yards. So that also relates to our community here because obviously we want to make sure that the drivers of the school buses are following the rules of the road and make sure that they're properly licensed. Some of the other programs is the North Fair Oaks Youth Initiative. We have done programs here around March where we have the community or the law enforcement work with the youth and do an event to where they actually get to talk to them and realize or see that the officers are just regular people. So we try to open the lines of communication between the youth and the law enforcement. We also have the bicycle rodeo with the Siena Youth Center and also the Day of the Child, which is in April. Sometimes we'll bring the patrol car, we'll bring Chipper, all the fun things for kids to work with officers. In terms of enforcement, we have a sergeant and a team of officers, like the captain was explaining about the special enforcement, that they pretty much focus on complaints. So anytime we get a complaint, then we put it on a file, and then we basically send our officers whenever they're available to target that area. We also started that special enforcement unit in 2018, and it's similar to the STEP program, which is the Saturation Traffic Enforcement Program, where we receive a complaint and we'll send a whole bunch of officers to target that area, and then sometimes the people that call in the complaint are the ones that get targeted, they get cited because they said there's a lot of speeding going on, but they're also the ones speeding. So at that point, it's like, hey, you called us in, here we are. So in order for us to be able to respond to complaints, we need to make sure that we know that there are issues with speeding or anything like that. In 2016 and 2017, we only received one complaint. So one complaint per year. So if you guys would like us to come out to the area a little more often, let us know where the problems are, and then we can work accordingly. We had a pedestrian safety operation on August 22nd to address motorists not stopping for pedestrians on the crosswalks. We issued over 60 citations on that specific event. So that's something that brings it out to the community, and they basically that's like saturating the area to make sure that they stop for pedestrians. And we also do checkpoints, the DUI checkpoints. The last one was on El Camino Real and just south of 5th Avenue, and that was on July 7th. So we're going to have a few more coming up, as well as DUI roving, which means that we're going to be having all the officers available working on looking for people that are intoxicated, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And we have one officer that's also bilingual that is assigned to the North Fair Oaks area on a regular basis, depending on his schedule. And basically what the sergeant told him is like, just work there like you live there, and then if you don't like something, then do something about it. So, and the other thing that you guys asked me to bring is if we had any major activity. The last one we had was a fatal hit-and-run collision on July 24th, 2017, and that was a vehicle versus pedestrian. So other than that, that's all the information that I have. If you guys have any questions.
Do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Thank you. The intersection where you cited, how many, 6 people?
Over 60 citations.
Was that the area in front of the youth center? Because I've been told by actually by Rafael, the director of Siena Youth Center, and some of the parents, that there needs to be more enforcement of people not stopping and just going through that intersection at Marlboro,
Okay.
because there's a lot of kids going back and forth.
To the center.
Yeah, and now that they have the St. Leo's place, they alternate having meetings at both buildings. So there's a lot of pedestrian traffic right there. And the complaint was also that cars are doing a lot of, what are they called, donuts?
Donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a hot spot. So I don't know, that's within your jurisdiction.
It is.
And if you can follow up on that with Rafael, but I heard that it's a complaint.
Okay.
So,
That's good to know. I believe the enforcement was done on Middlefield.
where?
One of the pedestrian crossings. I'm not sure. I didn't get that location,
Oh,
but it was
okay.
somewhere between 5th and 1st, somewhere around there.
and then the other question, are you involved in any conversation with City of Atherton regarding the El Camino and Selby Lane intersection? You know, they're working on plans to provide more safety or something over there.
No, I'm not.
No?
No. Do you know who we could contact on that one?
Well, that would be City of Atherton.
Yeah.
So actually, we defer to, if it's within the city limits, we don't have jurisdiction there. And then even within the county, we would always defer to the expertise of Public Works and things like that. We're involved in the meetings and we engage.
Oh, you are?
From our, as far as Public Works, as far as in the county areas, if there's issues. And then we'll be involved in, we often are involved in those planning, discussions and things of that nature from a traffic standpoint and an enforcement standpoint. But as far as engineering issues and things like that, that's not really in our realm, and we would defer to, public works in the county area. And if it's in a city, it's really not something, we might be involved in something that's perhaps going to have an impact, like overpasses or something like that on the freeway, where we would have jurisdiction. But unless it's something that usually encroaches into the unincorporated area where we have jurisdiction, we
But-
generally leave that to the city
But it is
department.
part county.
Well, if it is,
I
yeah.
mean, one side is county, one side is city.
Right, but
So-
to your point, though, no, we haven't been contacted with that specifically. But I often talk to their chief, and so when I talk to the chief over at Atherton PD, I'll
Well,
take
and the only reason I'm bringing this up,
Sure.
and I won't get into full discussion, but at the last meeting, they stated that it's no longer a safety issue. It's more about a left turn issue. And I want to know who's telling them it's not a safety issue, where you have pedestrians crossing. I don't know who all the players are,
Right.
but I'm hoping that the Highway Patrol and the sheriff and the county are all looking at this.
We will if I know what I'm looking, and I'll be honest with you, it's the first time as far as specificity that I'm hearing about it. So let us do a little bit more research, see what's in our jurisdiction, what's in our realm as far as that, so we can find out what is and what isn't being done, or what does, or may be in our realm where we would have some input. But again, we always defer, if there's a safety aspect or an enforcement aspect, we absolutely are involved, but we generally don't, we don't have the expertise with regards to giving engineering opinions and things like
Right,
that.
right.
But as far as the overall conversations, it's always good for us to be involved in
Okay,
those.
thank
I
you.
agree. Thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
if I can, through the chair, to answer Councilmember Lopez's questions, Public Works and our building and planning department are actively involved with Atherton on this issue, and I think it's probably a good idea at this point in time to maybe have building planning come back at our next council meeting and give you an update.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question? Beatrice? One quick question I had is, have you guys seen an increase in accidents between motorists and cyclists? I've noticed that the number of cyclists has increased as traffic has exploded. So I'm wondering if that correlates with some safety issues for cyclists.
Yeah, at this point, I don't have any stats in terms of if there's an increase, but we can definitely look into that. Nothing that we haven't seen to where it's like a major concern that, yeah, we'll look into that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any questions from the public? Comment? If not, then we will proceed with Sheriff's Office update and a presentation by Lieutenant Christina Corpus.
Good evening. I'm obviously not Lieutenant Christina Corpus. My name is Greg Rothfuss. I'm a captain with the Sheriff's Office. I'm a South Area Commander. And I just want to say a few words before Lieutenant Corpus came up here. I know you have the staff report, and you probably had a good chance to take a look at it. And there's a lot of good news in there in terms of crime reductions. And really 2 pages worth of services and programs that the Sheriff's Office has provided over the last year for the North Fair Oaks neighborhood. And I just want to take a second to thank Lieutenant Corpus for her leadership. She's done an excellent job out here, and the results are there in the staff report. And a lot of benefits to the community from the programs and services that her and her team have provided. And I also want to take an opportunity to thank everybody back there in the back of the room. All our staff back there. We have care on staff. We have our deputies back there. Our PIO is back there. All work diligently for the North Fair Oaks community. So again, thank you, Lieutenant Corpus. You've done a great job. And thank you to everybody else. Christina?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Christina Corpus, and I am the Lieutenant for Headquarters Patrol, and I'm here tonight to present our Patrol Bureau's end-of-the-year report. So I wanted you guys to see the measures between last year and this year. So Part 1 crimes are homicide, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, theft, and motor vehicle theft, just so you understand what crimes those are. And I wanted just to show you, in the light blue is for 2017, and in the darker blue is 2016. So if you can see, we've had a pretty good decrease in the crimes in North Fair Oaks. And we attribute that to, more foot patrol, the deputies going out and talking to community members, more, people calling and letting us know of these crimes that are occurring or problems in the community. A lot of community relations is really important to us, nurturing those relationships and having that contact with people so they can come to us and tell us if there's a problem that maybe we're not aware of. So here are the violent crimes, and I just want you to see that in comparison, in 2016, we had 38 assaults, and in 2017, it went down to 30. So there is a drop in crime here. We are working, and I think it's too with the help of the community. So together, we're making a difference. So our burglary rates, if you can see, so 46 we had last year, and it's down to 34. So there is a significant drop, even in residential crimes. So we're making progress. Okay, and citations. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about our citations. We've done a lot of education and warnings with the community, and we are way down in citations. So the community is listening, they're adhering to the rules, and they are cooperating. And so for us, it's a win because we're happy to see that the parking situation, even with the 2-hour parking, or when we have street cleaning, there's not that many cars out there. So, if Linda, it's last year, sorry, 2016, we had 8,169 citations, and this year it's 5,400.
Yeah, I was looking in here.
Yeah, so it's a significant drop, but we thank the community for that because they're listening, and we don't really find, we're out at 5 o'clock in the morning, and
I know. I get a call from my brother down the street. Linda, move your car. It's almost 11 o'clock.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think people are also watching out for each other.
yeah, that's great. So how have we responded to these issues? We're doing education, dialogues. Our CARE-ON program is out in the communities. Our deputies are out talking to people. We're doing more foot patrol. So we're out on talking to business owners, talking to community members. We're at the schools more. We're engaged in the community. We go through the bars and do bar checks. And then with the help of our detective bureau too, to solve crimes. So, like I said, we are, working with the schools, the community at large. The issue with homelessness, we've been working actually pretty significantly with the county to try to get resources for the homeless issues that we're encountering, and not just pushing them away, but really reaching out to try to get them resources. And then I wanted to talk about one case that we had, and our deputies responded that could have actually gone very differently. Our deputies responded to a man that was off of his medication and was assaulting his father. They arrived on scene, and the man was outside holding a knife. The deputies were talking to him, trying to get him to put the knife down, and he kind of came towards them, and that could have been a situation where they could have used lethal force, and they didn't. They continued to talk to him, and then actually one of our canine deputies brought his dog out and continued to talk to him and got the individual to put his knife down, and we were able to get him the right help that he needed. So that is just a case of us really trying to help this individual and get him the right resources, and then we followed up with that individual for other resources through our PERT program. So those are that was just a story that I wanted to share with you. Does anybody have any questions for me?
If you have any questions, please feel free.
I don't have any questions, but I do have comments that it's really nice to see that these numbers are dropping, and it really does. I think it really does have to do with just the sheriffs coming in with the community, really interacting, really creating that trusting relationship with the community, because once you have that, then you see these numbers dropping. And I just want to see, I'm glad to see that these numbers are dropping. And I always come from a school's perspective, that you guys are part of the school and you guys continue to support our school. And once again, it all comes down to seeing these numbers lower, being dropped. So good job.
Thank you. Again, it's not only us, it's the community, and we are part of the community. And then I have a video to show you guys, just to kind of see what we've been doing. If you could, do you have the video there? It's on the same one, I think. Is it on the same one? Oh, you, okay.
Lieutenant, what's a bar check? What's that?
So we go into the bars to make sure there's
To
no
do-
illegal activity going on.
Oh,
To make sure
just check it.
there's peace inside of the bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Thank you very much. It seems like you guys have been very busy in the community, and we all appreciate that, like Mary said. Thank you very much for your work, and we
Yeah.
hope that you continue doing these activities in the community.
Yeah, I thank you, Lieutenant. And to all of the department that is here. I think it's a real model of how it's done right, and really appreciate your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. I just wanted to let you know that on February 24th, we're hosting a community soccer game at the Sports House. So if anyone wants to put their cleats on and come out and play with us, it's going to be on the 24th from 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. We'll have a community barbecue after that as well. And then on Thursday, February 20th, our CARE-ON program will be hosting an informational on how to pay for college and give updates on DACA, immigration, and scholarships. So we have flyers that we'll leave in the back for everyone.
Can I add one thing too?
Sure.
Because I'm working with Under Sheriff Trish in planning the Multicultural Institute annual event, anniversary dinner. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another example of how the sheriff is involved. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Rodriguez, I also may say that in the county, we have a very competitive awards program once a year, and we honor the outstanding programs. It's very, very competitive, and this year the CARE-ON program was honored and awarded for incredible community service that they've been engaged in throughout the year. And I've got to say, Sheriff Barlanes and Captain Rothus and Lieutenant Corpus and all the men and women in the Sheriff's Department are so invested in this community and do so much for this community. They're not out there patrolling the community. They are part of the community. They are engaged at every level. And the county, from the county standpoint, we're just so proud of the barriers that they've broken down, and especially with the youth in this community, how they are so engaged with the youth in this community. I think a lot of the youth in this community really look up to our sheriff's deputies and aspire to be a deputy someday. So I think that deserves a huge round of applause.
I agree.
I agree.
It is evident. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lieutenant. And I suppose there's no public comment or questions. So we will go on to the fifth item of tonight's meeting, the Middlefield Road Improvement Project, presentation regarding the project elements and specific project amenities, coordination effort, and status. A presentation by Ann Stillman from the Department of Public Works.
Hi, good evening. Ann Stillman, Deputy Director of Engineering Resource Protection with San Mateo County Public Works. And I get to present the presenter, so that's the best part, right? But first off, I want to recognize my boss, Jim Porter, is here, the Director of Public Works. The Public Works staff that's working on this particular project, Gil Terrell, Carter Choi, Monica Raman, and then we have also our consultant team here as well. So last week we attended the study session, and we went through a lot of the details about the project, explained a lot of the features. Tonight we're going to go through an abridged version, just as a refresher. Then talk about the questions that you brought up and provide the responses. Take any additional questions that you may have and any questions from the public, and then really get down to the scoring and take in your input and voting in terms of the different features that we're talking about. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom Sweet with AECOM.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Can folks hear me okay? Are we allowed to? I can carry it around too? Okay. I may want to do that when we get back into the kind of looking at the overall project limits. As we talked about last week, and I think there's a person here I don't believe we met last week, so I just wanted to give a brief overview of what we shared. We've been very busy making progress on the project. And what we'll go through tonight is basically the same materials we did last week. But we talked about sidewalk width, spacing of trees, and then the lane configuration that we'll look at in a minute here. And we've also been very busy with studying the opportunity with street light layout, looking at the trees, which James will talk about in much more detail. Bus stops, we've met with Samtrans, we've met with the railroad for the railroad crossing, and we've also met with PUC for work over the Hetch Hetchy water mains. And so we're going to just start with the flyover, which gives a kind of a good idea of the project, and we can stop it if folks would like us to, and rewind it if we need to go into more detail.
And this is, just to clarify, this is more of a generic block, so it's not a specific block within Middlefield. It has the general features that would be part of the streetscape.
So we see here the two through lanes, the continuous left turn lane. We have a buffered bike lane on each side, and then we have bulb outs at each intersection, along with wider crosswalks, better visibility for pedestrians, and hopefully lower resulting speeds for the motorists.
Can you point out when we see an accent tree, or are you going to do that later?
Actually, we'll see
Are
a
there any
transformation.
Oh, okay.
Right, so these are, you could say these are more of our standard.
Standard, okay, thank you.
And as we get to the end of the block,
Oh, okay.
it will rotate and it'll go to a yellow leaf tree, which is representing an accent tree.
Okay.
So you'll see that it just
Oh,
turned and instantly they became yellow or an accent tree. And then we'll walk down the sidewalk again with that accent tree. And you can see as you come to the intersection, the bulb outs, as Tom mentioned, and special features, whether it's within these paving areas or seating, special seating. Hang on.
Hopefully, nobody's suffering from vertigo. And so next, we'd like to talk a little bit about this section. And do we, have we passed out the 11 by 17s to the? Yeah, maybe we can.
That's just the look and feel.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So what we have here is kind of the typical sections. We have, as I mentioned, we have the through lanes, so in each direction, southbound and northbound, and we have a continuous left turn lane down the center. We have a buffered bike lane on either side. That's a little over 5 feet, including the striping. And this section here is cut right at a bulb out, and so we have the little bit wider sidewalk and bulb out. It's the 12-foot walk plus the bulb out width. And then above, it's the same section but cut through kind of the mid-block area, which then shows clearly the parking that's parallel and then the 12-foot sidewalk. And then the trees that James was talking to. And we'll talk a little bit more about the lighting as we do the kind of the pan through. Any questions at all on? So these are just typical sections through the project. And I think now we want to just do a fast, and the wall back here, we do have the the whole project limits. And so we have this electronically that we'll just walk through briefly for maybe the folks that weren't at the study session. We're going to do a lot of work in the vicinity of the railroad crossing. We basically have a basic controlled intersection starting here at Hurlingame. So this will be a traffic signal. And as we move south, why don't you go ahead and pan a little bit south, Tony. So we'll have a new raised median at the railroad, raised median at Northside. Northside will become right turn only, but all of those movements will be controlled by a unified traffic signal system. And the outlet at the clinic in Redwood Junction will be controlled as well. And our bike lanes then move in as we discussed last week. And then Pacific represents the end, the southernmost end of this whole area, which is now uniformly controlled by traffic signals, which aren't there today. So it'll be much safer, much more controlled. People will be able to get out of Pacific and Northside easier and actually turn and cross Middlefield. If you're heading southbound, the left turn movements will be much easier in the northbound direction, getting into the clinic, et cetera. Maybe go to the next block. And then as we go south, we basically, it's a repeating, as I pointed out in the section, you basically have the same through lane in southbound and northbound directions, the continuous left turn lane, the buffered bike lane, which is set off a little bit from the car parking just to make it better for the cyclists, so the door swing will be less likely to impact them. And then we have the parallel parking along the curb. We're showing the trees that James will talk about in a lot more detail. And then we also have the street lights that we're showing. We're showing two types of street lights currently. We're showing a regular standard street light that you'll see to the south, which has got the arm, which looks like this over here on this board. And then we have what we call pedestrian scale lights, which are the lower lights, which we'll see in the slides as we go forward after the pan through the project area. So this is very similar to what we have today. You can see with the bulb outs, we have a much more prominent crosswalk system. We have the ADA ramps, of course, and then we do have planters. And so we have the deep green planters are green infrastructure, which is there for stormwater treatment, which is very important to the water board and all of us, I believe. And we have a lighter green, which is more of a traditional vegetation. And then, as James pointed out, on the fly-through, we have also some decorative pavement and/or plain concrete areas. We did talk to the Samtrans quite a bit about the bus stops. So the same number of bus stops are now planned as are out there today, but they are shifted slightly in some cases. They typically like them just downstream, if you will, of the intersection. It's a safer location for the bus to stop, and it's safer for the riders as well. We have coordinated the tree locations with Samtrans, so basically the front and the rear doors are clear. Maybe we'll just go another. And we are seeing there's benches shown along here just as placeholders, and James will talk about that in a little more detail. Here between First and Berkshire is where the crossing is for the PUC water lines. We currently don't show vegetation there. I think we were asked during the study session to take another look at that and maybe put some green back into one or two of those bulb outs. So that is something we'll talk about when we get to the question and answer report out. And then as we move south, it's very similar to what we've just described. You see the lighter color, that's the traditional vegetation. So we're increasing the green of the project area. And in this intersection here at Second, this is the area where we're adding a crosswalk. Right now there's not two at Middlefield. We're going ahead and concentrating on the crosswalk movements there. And then we're adding the decorative pavement, which James will talk about in more detail, and other street furnishings. The new parking lot, which has just been constructed, and then 2 more blocks, and it's pretty much very similar to what we discussed, obviously. And the areas south of Fifth, we're still working on that to work out the configuration. We're in the middle of doing a traffic study. We have a good idea what it will look like, but basically it'll be transitioning from the 2 lanes in each direction to what we have here. So we will provide that information as it's developed. And with that, did I miss anything? I think that was a good summary. I think that was it. So now I think I'd like, and here's the legend, and again, we can talk about this more if we need to, but the legend is on the drawing on the back wall too of what each of these features is, and so folks can understand where they're located. And now I'd like to turn it over to James Ingles from RHAA. And actually, I failed to introduce my cohort, Tony Berber, who's got three arms. He's running the show. And then, but I'll turn over to James so he can talk about more of the specifics on look and feel.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Council. I'm James Ingles from RHAA Landscape Architects, and I also want to point out Lindsay Yoon here is also from RHAA, and she's going to be handing out some updated handouts. They're very similar to the ones you got last week. There's a couple of just minor changes that you should be aware of. I know we talked last week about colors on the site furnishings, and we had a red, and you brought up a good point of actually making sure we were clarifying, we were matching the color on Fifth Avenue as well as on Middlefield south of Fifth, where the street lighting is more of a rust red. And so we've made that change within this handout. That is one of the colors that can be used as you select your preferences. And other than that, there was just a small street graphic that we swapped out. We had a better image of that. So that's the only real changes that are in the new handout that you received tonight. I'm briefly going to go over what we called the look and feel, which are some of the elements. And look and feel is more about kind of color and detail and what things feel like. And so it's these types of items that were identified way back in one of the early workshops that were important. Those were the lighting, street trees, site furnishings, and special public art or community identity. And so we took some of those elements and we are asking for your input on these. And the first one was the tree layout. And what that tree layout means is we're looking for a variety within the 6 blocks of the project. And so we've identified what we call as a standard tree, which is more of a framework or bones type tree. And then we also had an accent tree. And as we looked at 3 different options here for the overall tree layout, where we were working with a standard tree and an accent tree. And so we had Gateway as one option where we had more of the special trees at the ends of the project. Alternating, where we would take 2 of the standard trees and we would, every other block, change those. Or option C, which is where we're combining the Gateway concept and the alternating concept, where we had the accent trees at the ends and then somewhat of an alternating of the standard trees within the 4 blocks in the interior. I think I covered that. Any questions kind of on those concepts?
So there's no change.
Correct, no
page 2.
change. I'm just kind of briefly for who wasn't here.
When we get to changes, can you remind us?
Absolutely,
Because I'm
yes.
kind of going by both.
Okay, they're very, very minor, but okay, so this was street layout, and we can go to the next one, Tony. And those layouts were being made with what we were calling a standard street tree and an accent tree. The 3 standard trees, and we worked with the county and we worked with everyone coming up with 3 solid trees that would be the bones or the framework of the plantings. And those are the Zelkova tree, the red maple, and the Brisbane box. And these, again, we're considering maintenance, urban tolerance, as well as the forms and the shapes of these trees in considering storefronts and make sure that there's visibility. Going on to the accent trees, there's 2 trees there. The autumn gold mainhair tree, or a lot of people know it as the ginkgo tree, and the other tree is a purple flowering locust. And again, these are to provide accent. They might not be quite as kind of urban tolerant as the standard trees, very close, but again, as well as maybe a little bit more maintenance, but may create more of an identity for the street and the streetscape. Next. Another item that we looked at that was identified was street furnishings. And most of the furnishings themselves are county standards, but working with the county, we are interested in maybe making this more, again, of a identity on Middlefield. And so we're looking at various colors here. And I will point out that, again, one of the changes that we made from the handout from last week was here that we, for option C, instead of red, we're calling that rust, and saying that color would match the street lights on Fifth Avenue as well as south of Fifth on Middlefield. Again, these are the furnishings, variety of colors here. These are all relatively standard furnishings that the county uses that we will be implementing.
I'm sorry, through the chair.
Of course.
When that was brought up at the study session, I wasn't really talking about the color. I was talking about the actual light,
Okay, the light,
the actual light.
the
on
fixture
Fifth Avenue.
itself?
Right.
Okay.
The colors. But anyway, that's what I was.
It might have been Ever that actually brought up, I think, the
Oh, the color
colors.
part?
I think.
I did brought it up in the sense that the public lighting along Fifth Avenue is brown. I think is a dark brown, and I thought that it would be good to have
Keep the color?
some sort of have a match for options here because there wasn't any.
And I was looking for a match on the actual light fixture, but
Right.
I know, yeah,
I see.
but it's,
Well, and I think,
I think
and
it's going to be
that's,
too expensive.
again, there's standard models in how they illuminate and efficiency, and unfortunately, old traditional lights are, they're very inefficient.
Oh,
Style is important, and I think this style here, it certainly is different. The other one is an acorn where it's kind of flipped around, but this
Yeah.
does have a very traditional look. And the pedestrian light especially does have at least some of that character of the lights that are on Fifth.
yeah. No, I've accepted that.
Okay, okay.
And
All right.
if I may, I also wanted to point out that the new printouts that they just distributed, the top option, A, cobalt blue, looks more like purple on these copies.
Right, so.
But on the older ones,
Okay.
it is actually the blue that I think it's intended to be, right?
It is, and unfortunately, that's different printers, but I'll clarify, right, the cobalt blue here is to match the recent addition of the fencing along the new county parking lot. So it is a cobalt blue. I apologize on
Oh, that's all right.
the color of the handouts.
Just wanted to point that out for
Thank
those
you.
who hadn't seen the old printout.
Okay. All right. Tony, we can go. So the next item, there's some opportunities at some of the bulb outs to have some special paving. And again, this is more of creating special paving and special seating. And this is to have, again, maybe a special identity for this section of Middlefield. Two of the options we're looking at is more of some kind of what we call the sculptural precast concrete that could be much more informal. You see kind of an image of that here where these could be set within the bulb outs. Different kind of seating configurations or standing on them or jumping, you could do anything. The other would be more of a precast concrete bench with possibly a mosaic inlay in that. So those were the two options that we had for special seating. Next. And then another one at these bulb outs where you could maybe have some special paving, and there's three preferences there. Concrete pavers, and again, color and all that could be anything. This is another one where we did change out a better photograph. These are street graphics where they have a color of the concrete and then they sandblast it to the normal color of the concrete to create patterns. And finally, mosaic tiles that could be the entire bulb-out area, or they could be separate tiles. I think the concept here is that it could be some kind of mosaic that would be within that paving. Next. And this is the same slide before. Again, encourage you for any comments regarding public art or community identity that we can think about. These are some of the items or some of the ones that are being used right now. The sculpture, the entry area, the one that's right out here, wall murals, utility boxes being painted, and banners that could be put on the street lights. And I think that, again, covers what we went over last week. And I think the next slide here will be some of the questions that were raised and how we can respond to these.
Because we could tag
Cover
team
these
this.
together, yeah.
Yeah. So the first question was about the, that Ever brought up about the angling of the, actually, 20 maybe, what was it? Well, I can't quite see that far, but, so heading northbound, the bike lane goes from next to the through lane. I'll just walk over. There you go, Tony. So Ever made a good comment about working with the railroad, they wanted to keep this unpainted. And so Ever made the comment that we can maybe angle this, so put a kink in it, effectively, so the cyclist knows that something is happening and that the bike lane is actually moving to the curb, similar to how it will be continuing to the north. So we'll definitely incorporate that. You can go back to so we'll revise that. I did check with the traffic engineers about the number of left turn lanes that currently are happening onto north side. And the AM peak hour is the most at 70. Folks can still turn left. They'll just be doing it at Dumbarton, and then they can still get back to the same area, but it'll be a controlled left turn at a traffic signal. Do we want to, should I pull back that the image of the graphic so you can see? So there'll be a stop condition here heading southbound. Currently, you can go right here, but to really signalize this intersection, we can't allow that movement. So we'll have a left turn motion here on Burlingame that allow them to get back into that same. You're doing good, Tony.
And I'm sorry, and what was the reason for that?
I'm sorry.
Why no left turn on north side?
Oh, the.
I don't remember.
So,
So there's a light there, a signal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So cars will actually be coming all the way up and sitting here. So when there's a red light for the south and the northbound direction, cars won't, there'll be cars here, and then also we have a raised median here. So the idea is that this little area will be protected, both to stop people from cutting over to the railroad, but also that we'll have a uniform control of traffic movement in this intersection. So cars would actually be able to allow turn traffic. But it's such a long, you see how long the distance is. We couldn't really have cars in here. We would have another issue with the median of the railroad really wants. Because right now currently there's a lot of, we're trying to make this right turn only as we discussed. To basically get up to the right standards for the railroad.
And is there going to be a traffic sign that notifies the motorists that there's no left turn at that point?
I mean, for right here.
Uh-huh.
I think we could probably talk about, actually adding some signage at the intersection itself. Because once you're past Burlingame, it's going to be very clear that you can't go left.
So
This will be a raised concrete.
So the media is going to be further up, I suppose, blocking essentially the left turn.
It will be
Okay.
blocked. Yeah, that left turn movement would be blocked
Okay.
physically
All right.
by the median.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, through the chair. So that will improve the traffic.
Overall.
How does that improve pedestrian crossing?
Well, currently it's down, it's here, but now everything is basically put to the other
So-
side of the intersection.
So they won't be able, so that's going to be the only place they can cross?
Correct. Correct. With the improvement to the drop arms for for the railroads, basically, and then we'll have the pedestrian control here. We want crossing to occur here during the proper condition with the signals.
So there's not going to be any pedestrian crossing right as you leave the clinic, right in front of the coffee, Connoisseur Coffee Company?
Oh, yes, there is actually.
So, okay, so,
Hand out, yeah, we,
so pedestrians could continue to walk south
yes.
and then cross,
Actually,
okay,
there'll be a light here too.
north of,
All going to be synchronized, so the stop condition will allow for through to optimize traffic flow on Middlefield.
okay.
We'll have stop conditions at Pacific, the clinic, and Burlingame. And then when we want to stop the traffic on Middlefield, we'll allow movements out of all of the side streets. So basically, we clear all the queuing that's occurred on the side street. For the pedestrians, this will be a much improved condition than it is today. Basically, pedestrians can get over, there'll actually be a traffic signal here, both for the vehicles entering and leaving. You know, left and right are still allowed from the clinic, but also there'll be a flashing signal for the pedestrians, so they'll be much more visible. And then because it's currently here, we're pushing it here. Coffee Connoisseur is right there. So this will be a very safe, controlled movement for pedestrians. But this whole area from Pacific to Burlingame will act as one unit.
Okay.
Right now, it's pretty, it's haphazard.
And,
Difficult.
and the clinic, I guess this is for Mike, the clinic's in agreement with this configuration?
We're working with,
Oh,
yeah, that's in process.
okay,
Yeah, and we'll be working with the landowners there, the landowner of the clinic and the clinic staff to make sure that it meets their standards.
yeah, okay.
Okay, any other questions? So that was,
Did you mention whether there were going to be bike racks along the corridor, or
yes, there'll be, I think, 1 to 2 per block.
Right, we have 1 to 2 on each side per block. And again, I think if there's more demand or a certain type of business or something that would warrant more, that can easily be implemented.
Great. And then the third question that we received last week was about its posted speed limit. So we did confirm that it was 30 miles an hour, and the county wants to evaluate that further. There's a balance with the posted speed limit. If you make it lower, congestion can be worse. We feel that posting it at 30 is probably okay, considering that with the new layout, the motorists will tend to drive slower and improve the safety conditions for the pedestrians and cyclists.
The next question, can the project look at adding trees along the west side between Dunbarton and Berkshire? Tony, you can go to the plan. You're getting a lot of things there. There's a short block section right in here where we don't have street trees. And we've looked at this further. It was good inquiry. In this plan here, we weren't showing trees. There's a storm drain line that would run right under where the trees would be. And looking at this further, the proposal is to have raised planters, that then we can plant trees within those raised planters. And so it'd be very similar to what would be on the other side of the street. And again, have those benefits of trees where it helps with the scale and shade and so forth. So that is something that probably couldn't be done. We just need clarification from the county. If they did have to get to that storm drain line, they may have to damage the planter and take the tree out if it was in that section. I think they're okay with that.
Although I'll add as a civil engineer, it's highly unlikely that the pipe would need to get worked on. But as James is saying, it's not a fatal flaw that the tree could be moved, and we would hopefully come up with planters that don't get damaged. Like a forklift could actually lift them like they do in the city.
Right. I think the next question too is also, can the project look at adding back in some vegetation in the bulb outs? And Tom, you mentioned that where the Hetch Hetchy easement is. we've looked at that, and there is criteria that if we're within 15 feet of the actual pipe, we can do planting that's about 1 foot high. And if we're, I think, beyond 15 to 25 feet, we can go up to about 3 feet. So I think it's not actually showing where the pipes are there, but we are within that 15 feet, and we can probably do some ornamental grasses and
Yeah.
work within the criteria of the SFPUC.
The pipes are very large diameter, there's 3 of them. And so they do really impinge on those 2 bob outs. And, but we will go back and look at that again.
Great. Great. And next question. Oh, okay. Can the project use a rust color for the light poles, benches, and bike racks? So as ever, and we talked about, matching the color that's already being used out there on Middlefield and Fifth. And another question was on the fragrance of the trees. There's really only 2 trees out there that have any pronounced flowers. One is the Brisbane box, which is an evergreen, and that really doesn't have a fragrance. The other tree is the accent tree, which is the purple flowering locust, and that has a very faint fragrance. All the other trees may have a very subtle flower, but really no fragrance. So I think those were the questions. And I think
Yeah, so now we thought if there aren't any other questions, we had put some time to public comment. If you didn't have any other questions on these answers.
I have a question. So this plan will, if you're coming out of north side, you won't be able to go left, you have to go right. What about the businesses right next door to the Connoisseur Coffee? They have the parking lot in the back.
Right.
And the driveway that comes out. Are they going to be, so that will be right between 2 lights. Are they going to be able to go left and right out of there? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
There's that
gonna have to-
restaurant and there's a
yeah, we're going to
coffee
look at the numbers. I think the movement is going to be difficult to allow them to go left.
And I think that's the only driveway.
Yeah. I think it's this guy right here, right? This one that's
Yeah,
just next
yeah.
to. Yeah. It would really be best if that could be a right turn only. I think because of the way the orientation is of this intersection. We can look at that some more. I mean, I'm not the traffic engineer, so I think we should just capture that question. This will be a left or a right out from Pacific. And you can see that if we put a stop sign here, there's a potential for conflict because of how far over they have to come to go left, to go south, with the exiting vehicles from Pacific. So I think I would go back to our traffic engineers and ask that question. But my initial reaction is it may be difficult.
Yeah, and those vendors will need to be noticed with the proposal.
Right.
With the proposal.
Yeah, through the chair, if I could ask, will you be able to enter north and south?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think it's really it's a northbound in.
Yeah,
And then we can have possibly vehicles queuing here for the left turn, and then vehicles heading south. Yeah, we'll have to look at that. I think we have enough lights right now planned and enough turning movements. We don't have a left turn lane
Okay, that's what I was
right there because of the short. We really needed the capacity for the incoming vehicles into the clinic. So we don't have the luxury of having a 2-way. It's so short.
Right.
This distance is so short. So as I said, my first reaction is it's as much as we might want to facilitate that, it may be functionally very challenging. But I'm not going to say no because I think there is a way for timing wise, and if we sign this properly, that there may be a way for them to safely turn left when there's a stop condition on Middlefield, and then if we have a stop condition at Pacific. So maybe there's a lull, if you will, where it's all red. It's all red for northbound and southbound Middlefield, and it's red for Pacific, that there could be, whatever it is, a 10-second duration where everyone's basically stopped, and they could then maybe exit and head south. But it doesn't feel like it's appropriate to me, so I think I'll need to check.
Okay.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on? Okay. Well, the next thing that we thought we would do is if there was public comment or questions, we would be able to do that. If there isn't, we can go right into the scoring. Yes, sir.
Just before we proceed, there are some things written on the white pad there.
Yeah.
To make sure we have a complete record, if we could just read those out loud.
Oh, sure. Did you want to do that?
Sure. So the first one I
Go ahead.
wrote, Linda, your comment about, in terms of the lights south or on Fifth, that it wasn't a comment necessarily about matching the color.
Yeah, but he,
about, right?
yeah.
But I just,
Mine was the fixture, Evers was about the color.
the second bullet that I noted. The second bullet was, there was a question about, will there be any signage for no left turn at that north side intersection? So kind of, will people know that they aren't allowed to turn there? That was that point. The third, is the clinic in agreement with the proposed improvements at that intersection? The fourth one was the question about what will be happening or what will be allowed for the cars coming out of that driveway right there and the green light. Basically, what will be allowed? Will it be left? Well, how will be that signalized? Yeah.
Thank you.
And if I may add another question, I guess it's more a concern than a question, and it is at the Middlefield Road and Fifth Avenue, and the transition from 2 lanes down to 1 lane. I wonder if, and this may be more, a question for county rather than you guys designing these, because I know, you're not designing anything further, beyond Fifth Avenue, or am I
We are
wrong?
actually, it's part of our scope to resolve that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tony, maybe you could pull us all the way to the south end.
That's great then, because
Yeah.
so we have 2 lanes coming in. I guess going out,
That's right.
there's not much of a concern, because obviously you got 2 lanes and traffic opens up. But
Northbound would be-
funneling down 2 lanes into 1,
Right.
Right at that junction, I think there might be a need for, start reducing the 2 lanes way before, like maybe on 6th Avenue, to get ready, or to change, including the light, or the lights there to, to provide for left turns, etc.
Yeah, we're looking at that right now. What we initially are thinking is there would be a right turn lane, effectively. So the rightmost lane going northbound would just turn into a right turn lane.
Oh, I see.
Which is a fairly common
sense. Makes
common occurrence. And it would be signed far enough back so people would know, through traffic, merge left. And then people that want to stay in the right lane will be able then to turn right. So then that single lane would line up very nicely with our northbound lane.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, any other questions or comments?
I'll just note that Ever's concern was added to the white paper.
Oh,
In red.
yes. So Lindsay noted the transition at Fifth Avenue may need to transition starting at 6th, but I think we're confident that we don't have to go quite that far south, that we can do it closer to Fifth and have less impact to the circulation patterns that are currently between that block.
Sounds good. Thank you. And just to make sure, if any other council members have questions, please go ahead and ask if you have those now, because we will have to vote on this item tonight.
And
Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, we thought about how best to do the scoring, quote unquote, which is really just collecting input. And so we do have an Excel spreadsheet set up, and we do have the ability to kind of do it in real time if you'd like. And so we have row numbers, and we could actually just read out, we could put initials, or it could be anonymous, or however you want to do it. But so we would just basically, if folks want to take some time or have already kind of scored, 1, 2, and 3, or 1 or 2, et cetera, we can just do that quickly, and then the spreadsheet will tally, and then the lowest score is the one that got the most interest, right? The lowest score wins in this case.
Sounds good.
So if we want to just go, we can just go from the end over and tell us if you want us to. And if you fill out a form, if you, I don't know if we need that, but. Oh, you are using them. Okay, thank you. You do have we did it several ways, so. Okay.
So I just want to clarify that this is not a formal vote or action of the board. I mean, if it's a formal vote, it's a board acting as a single entity. And here it's simply eliciting input from each board member. So it's not a formal vote.
And then
Yes.
I'll certainly be able to reveal Supervisor Slocum's choices, and then he can, solicit any other input, or just go ahead and make the final decision.
Sounds good.
I'm done. Do I turn this?
And, now, are we initialing at all? Do we want to track? You guys are comfortable with us just keeping it anonymous? I mean, we're fine either way.
I don't care.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we can keep it
We
anonymous.
can just collect them and then put the numbers up. Yeah.
Oh, we just want to know what preferences,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, this would be the time to put your initials
We
on a
wanna
piece
know
of
all
paper if you
the
wanted
numbers,
it
right?
noted. If not, it's fine.
Sure, we can do that.
What?
If we can put
Oh,
our
okay.
initials.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I should leave it up. Yeah, there you go. And we can read them off to you if you want, or Lindsay can read them off since
Hold on, Berlin came.
it might be easier if someone read them to you.
They should be read out loud anyway, so we make sure that, again, everything's
You want me to read it?
out in the open.
The people that can't get onto North Side, left turn.
Okay, so I'm just going to go left to right. Grammys. Okay. Okay, so tree layout. So 3, 2, 1. 2, 3, 2. I'm sorry, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 1. And then 3, 2, 1. Next is 1, 3, 2. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2. 4, 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Next is 2, 1, 3. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 2. 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Next is 1, 3, 2. 2, 3, 1. 2, 1. 1, 4, 2, 3. 2, 1. And 2, 3, 1. Next is 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, 4. 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. And last but not least, it's quick quality control. Price Waterhouse. Thank you, James. 2, 3, 1. 2, 1, 3. 1, 2. 3, 2, 1, 4. 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Oh, can we do that? Should we do that separate, the art part? Maybe we'll just, no, it should scroll, hopefully, yeah. So, which one, should we scroll that all the way up? How's that? And then so C, so if we made that cell green, that would be the highest score getter with the lowest amount of, most ones. C for standard trees. We have a tie, between A and B on the accent tree pushes. Pretty good. And, yeah. So pretty compelling differences on this.
What got accent tree? What did you get?
They were tied, equal number of votes for each.
Oh, okay.
That's the only tie, right? So Tony, maybe we can give this a yellow or a warmer green? What do you want? So maybe we just go through them, and James can circle them as we start, but. So the layout, C, which has the accent trees at the end, right? I'll let you describe that, James. So accent trees at the end, and then it's a little simpler in the middle, I guess, right? But
Right. It probably gives us the most flexibility, but I think you're looking for variety and complexity within that. So again, block by block, we will have uniformity from one side to the other side of the street, but I think we're going to have a lot of nice variety there within the 6 blocks. So we'll have accent trees at the ends, the gateway, and then alternating within the middle.
so you wouldn't see 3 blocks of the same tree.
Right.
You would see just
Right.
1 or 2, and then it would switch. Okay, great.
And here we have option 2, the Brisbane box, which is evergreen, which is nice, shade all the time, has the small white flower, and is extremely urban tolerant. Good choice there.
Do you mind if I do a pit stop here? So overall, we were looking for 2 to 3.
We might need 2 within these.
So maybe, Tony, we could go back and see where it ranks second on the standard trees.
Yeah, that's a
So
good-
that was,
Right.
That would be, okay, so that would be,
Oh, okay. The maple.
we have the red maple continue. Okay,
okay.
okay.
And then for the accent tree, we have a tie.
Yeah. Which actually, that's good. I mean, in a way, that shows that both trees are very attractive.
They're both nice. Yeah.
I don't know, Jake, do you have anything to say now about?
You know, the ginkgo tree is a very, excuse me, very popular tree right now. And again, we were looking for something maybe a little bit different with the purple flowering locust. And I think we'll just have to see what is available. Size is going to be important, but either one of those trees, I think, is a great selection. I think, personally, I probably would go more for the, excuse me. I would go probably for the ginkgo tree. But again, I think we'll consider what's going to be available at the time as we move the project forward, and that we'll work for it. What was next after? So that was the accent tree. Next was street furnishings and color preferences, and that was C, matching up with what's on Fifth Avenue and on Middlefield south of Fifth there.
Close between A and C.
Okay,
But C got one better.
all right.
So what color, so C is rust?
Yes,
What was A?
Cobalt blue.
cobalt blue. Okay. And the 2 special seating and special paving, good consistency here, I think, both looking at the mosaics of bringing that, incorporating that in, whether it's within the part of the bench or the seating, and then also in the paving that we bring in some mosaic. I think that will be great that those 2 can definitely work together and provide a strong identity.
So it was this guy,
Yes.
and what was the, and that?
Oh,
And what was the second option?
So the paving, so it was not even close.
Right.
So it was.
So there's a consistency So there is a consistency between the tile on the seat and then on the pavement. So the, yeah, same theme. How do we do?
Very well. And could you also go through the art options, if there
Yes.
were any comments?
Can you do that? Come on, Lindsay. We're trying to get Lindsay to. No, you.
I'm like hidden behind the mic.
Here, want me to do it? Or you can hold it?
Hold it. So let's see. The order doesn't matter, right? The first comment we got, street light banner.
So that's a thumbs up for the streetlight banner.
Yes. Second comment, please provide useful art on the streets like
Arty bike
arty bike racks or sculptures that can have public use. Third, all with a list of murals, walls, utility boxes, signage, banners, interchangeable to reflect seasons, events, etc. Next, all art displayed on handout document, so everything. 7, utility box art, street light banners. And the next one, wall mural and entry signage system.
So I guess we could, I'll just grab that. So on that, I guess we'll collate all of this, and so it could then be shared. And then these comments, we can leave them anonymous or however it needs to be or not be, but I think I'm hearing a lot of positive reinforcement of the concepts that were shared, with some that are more attractive, but really none that weren't attractive, it sounds like. So that sounds like, again, a good job for our HAA on what was
Well, I think there's.
highlighted.
And I think there'll be opportunities going forward with working with some of the local art groups too, and how this gets developed. So whether it's actually part of this project or another project, but they all work together.
And through the chair, we'll get these results to Supervisor Slocum and allow him to digest them and then make a decision. We'll send it out to all of you and let you know the final.
Great. Thank you.
That was what we had planned. Any other comments, or I think we'll collate this as was just described and get this back to you.
I believe we're all good with it.
I did have the question, and maybe I'll defer to the county folks, but is there a desire to have, I think we did send PDFs to Victor last week.
Yes.
So maybe we could just send the updated ones if there are folks or constituents or folks that are interested.
That would be great, especially to post it on the North Fair Oaks Forward site, just to have the latest information there for the public.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I was.
Yeah, no, so I was saying that if you can send the latest, the updated version to Victor so that it can be posted publicly on the website.
Right. Oh, that's right,
that'd
it
be
was posted, okay. Okay, and then I was just reminded that we did want to come back to the lighting, if we could, just for another minute.
Uh-huh.
And maybe, Tony, you could bring up the section or the street furnishings. Well, and actually, we could start with this one. So I wanted to just mention that, as we talked about last week, the street, as it's currently planned, with only the tall lights, will be slightly more illuminated than south of Fifth. So it'll be more bright, better sight distances than what's currently to the south. We've been showing the pedestrian lights, thinking that that would be something that might be attractive, but it's a cost item. You know, there's a lot of lights. And so they're not really needed to really illuminate. And there's a lot of fluctuation that we have with the bulbs themselves. We've already done the modeling, looking at the lumens at grade. And so we're confident that we can give you the project with just those lights that you see in this image that everyone will be quite happy with. But we wanted to just return to the question about the pedestrian lights and if people feel strongly about those, because I'm very concerned about the project costs and making sure that we're managing that proactively. They're really not needed for lighting levels. It's more of a, feeling kind of thing. And so I think the fact that these lights are so effective and will have that more of a old worldly look that they're used already at the parking lot. We just wanted to open up for a quick discussion about how folks felt about the pedestrian lights. I mean, we've been thinking that they would be desirable, but we wanted to just hear from you how important they are.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that, in my opinion, and of course, other council members may have different opinions, but I believe that this being the sort of the commercial district, the commercial street of the neighborhood, I think, or one of the few, I think it would be good to have more light, because usually it tends to be darkish. And so I think that the businesses themselves will appreciate having more light. And I think that if sidewalks are widened, that then it'll be more conducive for pedestrians to walk up and down.
Okay.
And so I think, therefore, more lighting would be advisable, at least in my opinion. But, I don't know what else you guys have to add.
I'm going to agree with Everett that we definitely need more. We do need the lighting so that the pedestrians can feel safer.
Okay.
And I think the more lighting that we have, it's going to be good for the businesses too. But I think just first and foremost is the safety is for the pedestrians is to have that extra lighting so that they feel safe.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Safety is number one.
Okay. Maybe I'll just add, and I personally like the pedestrian lights as well, but I may just make the suggestion that we look at the light levels and maybe there's a way to, going forward, that we refine the design and we can show that we're meeting the light levels and we're having good sight distances and good ambient light levels, either with both or maybe just the street lights. Because I don't want it to make it sound like the street lights aren't going to provide these improvements that you're desiring. We're also a little concerned about just too much light, where it gets a little, off-putting. So I don't know if that's in the zone of what folks might be thinking, but I think what I'm hearing now is that it is desirable. The notion of having more light is desirable. The pedestrian lights appear to be the way to certainly get that, but I'm just adding that I think we could get there without them, and we would just ask that we maybe look at that a little closer, and maybe we can report back. And
So through the chair, Tom, would you be able to model that so they would have a better idea of
Yes.
what it looked like?
Actually, we have started that process, and we do have some initial results, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because it's surprising actually how effective these lights are now with the bulb design and their LED. The height, the throw is much different than traditional lights, but it also provides the downside of just too much, like you're inside a building almost kind of feeling. So, and I know James has been very concerned about that. There's been projects that have resulted in almost too much of a good thing. So,
Yeah.
Well, let me just quickly add, a lot of times it's not the light level as much as maybe the glare, and neither one of us are light consultants, but whether we go with a pedestrian light or included with a street light, all of these are meeting minimum safety standards. It's not a question, I think, certainly we're going to be meeting that. Coming more from the sidewalk realm, the light also, and maybe Everett, you touched on this a little bit, certainly the lighting aspect, but also that it creates a more friendly pedestrian scale for a street if you're going to be walking along it. So another item, and I don't know, again, what your thoughts are on that it does help make it more of a pedestrian street and sidewalk experience. That's another benefit, or potentially a benefit, of having that light.
Yeah, and as you go further considering these options, if you could please think about the pedestrian aspect of it and also consider that our neighborhood doesn't have literally any green areas, parks where people can go and walk, take a walk. And so essentially, this would be, a venue for people to come out and take a walk in the afternoon, after dinner, whatever. And also consider that a lot of the housing or the buildings along Middlefield Road do not have, are not necessarily residences where people actually live, so it's not highly populated so that people go there to sleep at night. A lot of the buildings are, just businesses, and when it closes down, then people go home, and so it wouldn't be, bothering a whole lot of people in that regard.
Okay. And I should add that we can modulate the street lights, the tall light, wattages down a little bit if we do go with the intermediate pedestrian lights as well. So we can work to balance that, to make it more uniform. And, less the condition that James was describing.
Yeah, I would like to suggest that you bring back some different type of models, because I need a visual here of what the different scenarios are, what the different type of, the highs and lows of lighting and how the ambiance changes, so that I can get a better picture of what we're talking about.
And we've gone through that process, and so we'd be glad to report out. We've looked at multiple types of fixtures and spacings and combinations, so that's something that I think we can provide.
And through the chair, if I might suggest, Tom, if you're able to find a location, another city or town that has the amount of light that we're talking about, maybe we take a field trip there and go look at it.
Okay. So the action was we maybe find a location that the council could actually tour.
That's similar.
That's similar. That kind of the idea. I'm hearing more the ideal. Is that right, Mike? Where finding an example that that would match what we're proposing.
Right.
So they could say, okay, that looks about right. Okay. I'm not trying to sound negative. Lighting is a real tricky thing, and I'm sure most of you have an appreciation for that. How it feels versus how bright it is. It's oftentimes it can be a little, what you're actually feeling is not what you're actually getting. So, but we have our light designers at RGA, our subconsultant. They've already gone through the modeling, so we could, bring a little more clarity to, pardon the pun, to this conversation of what we've done to date, and then maybe identify a location that you could tour.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks very much for your presentation, for all your time.
You're welcome.
Sorry, one more last question. Will you send Victor updated PDFs?
Yes.
Could you also send maybe a copy of what's written on the white sheet and results of the input from the board members, so we have a complete record?
Well, yes. And actually, what we did for the last week's meetings, we have meeting notes, and we actually scan the flip chart. So we'll do the same, if that's okay, and then we'll have all the attachments. So it's one file, one PDF.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I had one question. Does your company still have an outreach component? Is that still part of the work? I'm thinking ahead, Mike. I'm thinking of the impact on Hurlingham. If this proposal to no left turn, that they can't make that left, they have to go.
Rather than north side.
They can't make the left going southbound and cut through.
Right.
Yeah.
I anticipate that there's going to be a need to discuss what the impact is going to be.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point through the chair. A very good point.
That's a lot of traffic.
Absolutely, and we will have specific meetings for, once we kind of finalize the look, the feel, and the design. We'll have, as we get closer to that finalization, we'll have specific meetings with the business owners. North Fair Oaks Ford will go out and with the laptop and be able to show them the fly-through, sit down with the shop owners and any landowners that want to see it. We can even, open up a kiosk on Middlefield Road as people walk by we can show them the look and feel would be like. But we plan on doing a lot of outreach. Of course, this is going to be posted on the North Fair Oaks website, and we'll make sure that every storefront at least knows what to expect, what's going on, where the crosswalks are, where the benches are, where all that stuff is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And we will have a supervisor's report. And I see, is that Irving Torres?
Back by popular demand.
Yeah.
Good evening, council members, and I just first off want to wish you all a Happy New Year. My name is Irving Torres. I'm a senior legislative aide with Supervisor Warren Slocum, and I'm going to be reporting on behalf of Supervisor Slocum tonight. So the first report that we wanted to bring to the council is, as you know, Supervisor Slocum is part of MTC, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And as of yesterday, the MTC committee decided to approve Regional Measure 3 that supports and contends and provides millions of dollars in funding basically for kind of road improvement for transportational projects such as like BART and Dunbar, and et cetera. And so what that means is the plan is to raise the tolls on the bridges incrementally for the next several years. So basically each dollar increase is expected to raise $125 million a year as a result of RM3 if it's approved by the Bay Area voters. And so that's the kind of report we want to give regarding to Regional Measure 3. So it's going to be on the ballot. You'll hear more about it in the next several months. And I'll be happy to answer more questions regarding that. The second announcement that the supervisor wanted to make was during the Board of Supervisors meeting this past Tuesday, the board approved basically an amnesty program to legalize unpermitted in-law units. And so basically the ordinance is going to allow owners of any in-law units built before January 1st of 2017 to occupy at some point prior to the adoption of the rules to come forward without any fears of code enforcement to basically bring up those units up to code. And so hopefully that would provide more kind of like permitting, kind of like basically second dwelling units and in-law units to basically meet up to code and basically have that amnesty and so forth. I also wanted to present this, so I attended the Home for All initiative that Jessica Mullen came and presented a couple of months ago to the Norfolk Community Council. In today's meeting, they really talked about second dwelling units, and so I wanted to pass this around. And so basically, they had the keynote speaker from Portland. The city of Portland has been actually kind of the leader throughout the United States in regarding to kind of making the process and regulation a lot smoother and easier for property owners to have ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And so they also kind of provide statistics that, you know, there's potentially 15,000 parcels in unincorporated San Mateo County that could have ADUs. And so the hope with that, you know, with this brochure, and there's going to be a website too that's going to be launched tomorrow, which is on the back of that brochure, that more property owners will come forth and probably go through that ADU process to have more housing in San Mateo. And so what the hope is also for cities, all 20 cities to kind of follow through that initiative as well. And so if you want more information or brochures, I'll be happy to pass that along. And then I have one other announcement, but I'm going to give it to Mike to give that announcement. So that's all I have to report for today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Irving?
No, nice to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Nice seeing you. Thank you, Irving.
All right, thanks.
And do we have a county manager's report?
Yes, thank you very much. Let me start off with the announcement that Irving was referring to, and that is our own Maggie Cornejo will be leaving us after North Fair Oaks, after just a very, very short but very productive time of about a year with North Fair Oaks Forward. But she's not going far. The good news is that she is going to Supervisor Slocum's office as an aide. So I suspect that she'll continue her efforts, a lot of her efforts down here in North Fair Oaks. She has been just a delight to work with today. I mean, throughout her career. Today is, in fact, her birthday. And that is why she is not here. But we wish her the very best. She has been just terrific for North Fair Oaks Forward. She has fit in so well with Victor. Victor and Maggie have made a tremendous, tremendous team. With the addition of Emma now, we really felt that we had a great team in place, but we can't stop progress. Right. So she's moving on, yet she'll remain a part, and we're going to start a recruitment immediately to replace that spot. Just a couple other updates. As you may or may not know, as you have driven by 2nd and Middlefield, that parking lot is done for all intent purposes, with the exception of a couple of punch list things that Public Works went through with the contractor, and they've got to clean up a couple of things that they still owe us. So our goal is to open that parking lot as soon as possible to the public. There are a couple of things that you might notice as you drive off Middlefield and down 2nd towards that brand new fence. There's an open area with a ditch area. So we plan on continuing that fence area along there for safety purposes. That'll be on back order, but we will open up the parking lot before that arrives. And I'll let you, we'll send out an email as soon as we have a date when that parking lot will be open. We will then, when the mural is in place and done, and as you know, we have that open to artists till the end of this month, so we hope we get some more applicants applying for that mural project. It's going to be a tremendous project. Once we have that mural up, we'll do a grand opening of the parking lot and the murals, and we'll have some kind of celebration in that lot. The parking lot that we hope to have on Berkshire, just west of Middlefield, is at 100% design now. It is with San Francisco PUC. They have sent it back to us with a couple comments. We are going to be addressing those comments and getting it back to them. We hope to get this project going very soon, and I'll keep you posted on that. And then, as Councilmember Lopez knows, we are working with Tim Vine and Land Systems on the 5th Avenue underpass area. We've got some big plans there. Tim has done a great job in donating his time and his staff's time of giving us a preliminary design. It'll come back to the community, it will come back to the council to really vet that and really kind of, really work on the details of that at some point in time. We will be fundraising for that, what we could consider parklets in that area and some beautiful landscape, and really kind of make that an incredible entrance. So we're looking for more committee members. Linda's done a great job on it, and we're looking for more. So if you want to participate, or you know somebody who would like to participate, please let us know, and we'll let you know when the meetings are. With that, Mr. Chair, that is my report.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have a question?
Actually, Mike, is Maggie going to continue the art piece?
She will not. In fact,
she's going to start right away.
She is. In fact, she will be starting Monday with Supervisor Slocum's office, but the artwork will fall into the very capable hands of Victor, I understand, and certainly Em will be a part of that also.
Okay.
So we'll make that transition.
All right, great.
I was wondering if you can, I know Victor sent me an email specifying sort of the process for recruiting an alternate youth member, but I wonder if you can just, tell us so that everybody knows, what
Yes,
what
absolutely.
the process may be.
So we'll be recruiting for the youth member. So if anyone out there would like to apply, or if you know anyone who would like to apply, please have them talk to Victor or Supervisor Slocum's office, and we'll get the application out. We also will be accepting applications for other council members, and we'll be getting that notice out to the public. If you know anyone who would like to apply, please let us know. Same thing through Victor or Supervisor Slocum's office. And then once those applications come in, they'll go before the supervisor for interviews.
Thanks very much.
To the chair, so I was hoping that I was going to get that question. And yeah, I just kind of second what Mike said. Just, if there's any interested, applicants out there, just tell them to please apply. It's going to be open, so we'll work with Victor and our clerk from the county to make sure that it's posted up there. And so if there's any people that you have in mind, please feel free to have them apply.
Okay, thanks very much. And with that, I wonder if there's any council members report, if anybody has anything to.
Well, I kind of mentioned it. I'm on the planning committee for the Multicultural Institute, and I have a packet for each of you. I'll leave it with you before I go. They're having their anniversary dinner on Thursday, March 1st at the San Mateo Credit Union, and there's a lot of information here. This organization started actually over 20 years ago in Berkeley. They've been in North Fair Oaks for about 11 years, and they started their work working specifically with the day laborers in North Fair Oaks, and have now expanded their programs. They've just expanded their organization. So they're doing tremendous work. I believe they're at your school. They're at Fair Oaks also working with children and families. So I will leave the information for you. I just also wanted to put a word out that we need people interested in serving on the council. It's only meeting once a month, and the study sessions are every other month. I did speak to Rafael Avendano and told him, please help us recruit another youth member. And I'm just hoping that people will apply. It's good work. It's slow progress, but it's important work that we do here in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And if nobody else has any reports, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. From anybody?
I motion to adjourn.
Is there any second?
I'll take it.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.